Family Time 186. We're talking about social pressures or social norms. And that's the intro to our look at responsible decision making. It's one of our SEL standards. When we look at responsible decision making, it's important to recognize the things that impact our decisions. It's especially important to take a step back and look at some of the invisible things that lead to the ways we react and behave and think. So when we talk about social pressures or social norms, we often think of negative ones, negative peer pressure, things like that. But it doesn't have to be that. Social pressures a lot of times are fairly innocuous. A lot of times are things that don't really impact us on like a base level in terms of like they don't really impact our character. They're just things that influence us. Style would be a good example. Styles are trends. Okay. If you look back through an old yearbook, if you grab my yearbook from the early 2000s and you see me, I had the spiked hair, the frosted tips, kind of the boy band haircut. A lot of the other guys in my class or in that era had like their hair gelled like straight down, like it would look constantly wet and it would be like crispy and hard. We look back at that now and be like, that looks ridiculous. Like, why would you ever do that to your head? Well, it didn't look ridiculous at the time because that's what everyone was doing. And whether you believe it or not, someday you'll look back at your yearbooks and think the same thing. You'll be like, why were we wearing white socks that were long socks that we rolled down part way while we wore slides? When I was in high school, that would have, if you wore like sandals or slides and socks, you'd be like, what, are you someone's like middle-aged dad who's out of touch? Like, don't do that. Even like the long white sock thing to me, like, again, when I was in school, it was like short socks, like the ankle no-show socks, which is what I still wear, which maybe now people are like, that's old man dad stuff. And like, that's okay. It's a great phase in life, I'll tell you. Many of you are not there yet, but it's a great stage in life where you stop caring about those things. So, like little stuff like that, you'll look back on and be like, why did we do that? Why did we wear essentially workout pants and long sweatshirts? And why did we all carry around the same metal water bottle? I don't know. Stanley. Stanley's a great example. Why do we all have Stanleys? Stanley for the company, you know, the metal water bottles, the water cups that a lot of you have. For a long, long time, they were a company that catered to like blue collar workers and campers. You know, they've made metal containers, thermoses, and stuff for a very long time, and now they've become popular amongst tween and teen girls. That's cool. That's how trends go. Those things impact us, even if you are somebody who decidedly rejects the social norm. You're like, well, I'm not going with that style. I have my own style. You're still impacted by it because you're having a reaction. You're making a decision to move away from that. Those things are fine. They all impact us. Even if I had the hair to do it, I would not frost the tips of my hair today because it is out of style. And not that I particularly care a lot about being in style, but there's certain things that you kind of just go along with. It's contemporary. It's this era. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that at all. And we can pick and choose a little bit. Like some styles, there are some new things like jogger style, like sweatpants and stuff. I like those so much. When they first came out, I was like, these look ridiculous. Because when I was younger, it was like baggier pants and baggier sweatpants and stuff. And now it's kind of like the more tailored joggers. Pretty much all I wear when I wear pants is the joggers. Why? I don't know. I've come to like the style. I've come to like the way they feel. Okay, you pick certain things and you go along with that. Those things are fine. There's also certain social norms that are created just because we've broadly accepted them. I use the speed limit thing as an example a lot. Speed limit out on our rural highways here in Iowa is 55 miles per hour. For those of you who drive, I am curious how many of you stay below that speed limit. It is the limit now, by the letter of the law, that is the speed limit. That is as fast as you are allowed to legally drive on the highway. I don't know about you, but if I came driving up on someone and they're driving 54 miles per hour, I would kind of be like, what's going on here? Is it an older person driving? What's happening? Most of us, I'm gonna venture a guess, drive a little bit faster than 55 miles per hour. Hopefully not a lot faster, but a little bit faster than 55. If we got pulled over and got a ticket for driving 57 miles per hour on the highway, we would probably be upset. But the letter of the law is 55 miles per hour is the speed limit. Why do we think that we should be allowed to drive faster than that? Because it's the social norm. There's been sort of this unspoken agreement amongst our society that you get a buffer. You get a few miles per hour above. Now, if you're talking 10 plus mile per hour over the speed limit and you get pulled over, you get a ticket, them's the breaks. You kind of got to accept it. But if you're within that buffer, we all kind of decide, we're just gonna ignore that. We'll all go just a little bit faster. For the most part, if you're staying within that little buffer, that's probably fine. Probably not putting anyone at any more danger. Now, if we start really pushing the boundaries that we're really going over the speed limit, then it starts to become a danger to ourselves and others. And that's the thing about social norms. They're not always black and white either, but it's what's been broadly accepted. I want you to think about the things in your life that impact how you think and feel about things, about how you behave. Because social norms do impact the ways we behave. And that's okay, but especially at your age, you students, this stage in life, I want you to start being cognizant of those things. And I want you to start thinking about whether or not those things are adding value to your life. If they are, that's great, but I want you to really think about it. Especially in this era with cell phones and social media and this connectedness to so much information. And I'm not demonizing that. It is the world we live in. But it is a tremendous concern I have as a teacher, as a father of 6 children. Social media, those things worry me. There's a lot of research that shows young people who spend more time on their phones, more time on social media, tend to, on average, have higher levels of anxiety, higher levels of depression, higher suicide rates. That's terrifying. In a lot of ways, social media is a drug. And we have to be aware of how we regulate that for ourselves. And you have to ask yourself if certain things are adding value to your life. You know, when your cell phones are hanging up in my classroom and somebody's got a smartwatch or something on, and then it's Be Real time. And a lot of times I'll let you, all right, grab your phone, do your Be Real picture real quick. In my room, I think it's kind of fun because you get to see the picture of your artwork maybe or whatever. But you have to ask if something like that, is that adding value to your life? If it is, if it genuinely is, great. If getting on your phone and sort of doom scrolling is adding value to your life, I don't know. If feeling you need to be constantly connected with somebody, you need to constantly be keeping tabs on where your friends are at. That's kind of wild to me, this generation. You're tracking the location of each other, those sorts of things. Are those things adding value to your life? I don't know. Maybe they are. But it's important to take a real deep, hard look at those things and see, okay, is this adding value to my life, or am I doing it because it's what we all do right now? And because I have this fear of missing out, that FOMO, fear of missing out, which is a natural thing. There is part of us, it's built into us as a survival mechanism that we're able to survive as human beings because we're able to collaborate. We're able to group up. And we talked last week about relationships. It's the best thing in life. But when it becomes a point where it's like we're always worried that we're missing out on something, we're always trying to fit in. And we talked about some ways, styles and things, that's not a big deal. But if we're sacrificing our morals and values to fit in, that's a problem. That's dangerous. Because if you're living out of alignment with your values, with who you truly are, you'll never be happy. You'll be in a state of constant trauma if you're living outside of your values for the sake of trying to fit in, to try to not stand out. And that's hard. I see it with my own kids where it's like, I want to fit in, I want to have these friendships, I want to whatever, and it puts a lot of pressure on. And the more we can be true to who we are, I really, really believe the right people gravitate toward us. If we're just our true, authentic selves as much as we can be, the right people come to us. It's like that flower in the window. It always bends toward the light. No matter what else we do, it's going to go toward the light. If you can be the light of your true self, everything else kind of bends around that in the most natural way. So we're going to take a look at that this week. Really, really take the time to assess what social norms, what social pressures are in your life, which ones are adding value to your lives, and which ones are taking away. And I spent more time talking about the things that maybe could take away from your life, but there's a lot of positive social norms. A positive culture is one of the best things in the world. I look at like our school, a lot of our extracurricular programs. We're certainly not perfect. There's always work to be done. I don't want us to sit back and think we have everything figured out. But I think the most positive aspects of our school are cultural things. A positive culture builds people up. It brings people in the right direction. That's a social norm. And there is some positive social pressure being like, oh, okay, I want to be involved in this thing. This is the way that we do business. We talk about it all the time. This is the way we do things in St. Ansgar. If you were to define that, our culture, to me, it's hardworking. It's supporting other people. It's backing each other up. It's trying to live and operate in a principled fashion. That's a positive social pressure. But think of the social pressures in your life. What are good that we should feed into, that we can add to, and what are the negative things that maybe, they're not bringing a lot to our lives. They're just taking time and energy, or they're making us feel bad. And those things we need to work to get rid of, or at least manage in a more appropriate way. Till next time, much love.